Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 83. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Daniel Gefen from a show called Can I Pick Your Brain, where he picks the brains of successful entrepreneurs and the co-founder of Get Futured. Hello Daniel.
Hi, Patience. How are you?
I'm good. I know the clan here is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own podcast, and take us right up to the last job or business before you are online?
Sure. So where do you want me to begin? Because I could talk for hours and I don't want to, I don't think we have enough time. So give me an idea of, where do you want me to start from? Is there any specific story you want me to share?
How did you start? We would all like to know, because you said you started at the age of 23, became broke, then you on the street, then you started again. So do you mind starting from there, please? Briefly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the thing is it really starts when I was born, because ultimately I believe that I was born with certain character traits that allow me to build businesses, and one of those character traits is called persistence. To be very stubborn. And so when I was very young, I didn't really understand what no meant. When you said no, I just heard yes. so I would say, I want a chocolate bar, and my mother would say no, and I would say but I want a chocolate bar, and I would keep going until I would finally get the chocolate bar. That kind of played out through high school. Then at the age of 23, I got married to a girl from California. I'm from London. I moved to California. I ended up getting a job on a six-figure salary. So I was 23 years old, just got married, six-figure salary, living a very nice life. And then 2008 came along and I got made redundant, and I basically ended up working a number of different sales positions on commission only because nobody was paying. And about 4 months later, I went broke. Like I had no money left. And I basically got a knock on the door one day, and my landlady said that, you need to leave because you haven't paid the rent in 3 months. And at the time, we gave birth to our first child. So I had my wife, my first child, and we were being kicked out of our home. So it was a really, really dark time at that point in my life. And I ended up moving in with my in-laws, which was also not a great idea, as you can imagine. And a couple of weeks after that, I decided that I needed to do something. And so we moved to London. I ended up working for my father in his grocery store, which was like a 7-Eleven type of shop, very small store, serving milk and eggs and, the grocery food and stuff. And I wanted to shoot myself because I literally went from six-figure salary, living in California, Los Angeles, driving a nice car, living in a beautiful Spanish townhome, sitting on the 15th floor of a high-rise building overlooking the Hollywood sign, to sitting in a grocery store bagging people's milk and eggs. So it was really tough. And as an entrepreneur, I feel like and for those listening, you'll relate to this. If you're an entrepreneur, you'll really understand what I'm saying here. And that is that when we are not able to be creative, when we're not able to be ourselves, it feels like someone is strangling us. It feels like somebody's drowning me. I feel like I'm locked in and I can't get out. I feel like I'm tied up. And that's how I felt in school, because in school you were told to sit down, you were told to read something you don't want to read, you were told to learn something you're not interested in learning, you were told to write things you don't want to write, you were told to just basically do things that you don't want to do. And so I felt trapped, and I rebelled against that. And I felt exactly the same way when I was working for my dad. I felt trapped. I felt like I couldn't be myself, and it was really depressing. And that lasted about a year. And then I finally quit, and I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And so I told my father that I'm going to go start my own business. And he said, okay, great. And so I started my own company, and it was a long struggle. There were many sleepless nights, but
where did you get the money? Because you are broke, you didn't have a job. Is it from your dad's paying you?
So actually, here's the thing. I got my dad to pay me for 2 months just to like get me going.
Okay.
And then what basically ended up happening was I got a community grant, which gave me a little bit of money just to go for about a year. And if I'm completely honest with you, Patience, there was a period of time where the business was just not making enough money, and I was building the business, and I really believed in the business, and I ended up basically borrowing money from a friend in order to get by. And you know what? Thankfully, the business grew, and I ended up growing the business. There was a point in the business where I was managing people 90% of the time, and so the business wasn't really growing. And so I fired all of my staff. Yeah, I literally fired all my staff. I outsourced the whole business to a competitor of mine. Yeah, it's incredible. And then I basically ran my company out of a hotel lobby with just my laptop on my phone. And the business just grew rapidly because I was working on the business and not in the business. And that makes all the difference. And that was about 5 years ago. Today, I now live in Israel because we decided we're going to move to Israel. I have 4 children now. The business completely runs on its own. So I spend about an hour a week on the business. It gives me a full-time salary. And I started the podcast show really because I kind of got bored. Like, as an entrepreneur, you need to be doing things. You need to be producing, right? Even if I guarantee everybody listening to this, if you're an entrepreneur, even once you've made your money, right? However much money you want to make, whether it's, $100,000, whether it's $1 million, or whether it's $10 million or $100 million, I guarantee you that whenever you hit that, you won't stop. And the reason why you won't stop is because inside of us, we need to constantly create. Like, for me to sit on a beach, I can do that for like 3 days, but after that I get itchy. You know what I mean? Like, I need to go do something. I can't just sit by, on a beach for like, weeks and weeks on end. So I started the podcast show, because I like to speak, as you guys can tell. And it was a great way to really build my network and to share my experiences and my life and my message with the world. And it's just been an incredible journey, Patience. I mean, because you've built up a podcast show yourself, so you know what it's like, right?
It's not easy, but it's always a journey. Okay, how does it feel that you are on 26 podcast list in 2017?
Yes, I was rated the top 26 podcasts to listen to in 2017. I was very surprised. I'm still surprised that people listen to me, because it's like, why would people listen to me? But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, because I just never, ever in my wildest dreams did I think that I was gonna build it as big as it is today. I just started it because it was like a hobby. I just wanted to get on the mic and just, and interview people. The people I've had on my show now are like people I would never have been able to speak to if it wasn't for my show. So, for example, I had Jay Abraham on my show. He's a legend. He charges $5,000 an hour to speak to him, and he came on my show. I've had Yannick Silva, who's the #1 internet marketer. I've had Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. I've had Tom Billy, who grew the second fastest growing company in the US. I've had the smartest man alive on my show. His IQ is 197, and he hacked into NASA when he was 13 years old. He's got a crazy story. I've interviewed a woman who lived in her car for 6 months in the woods, and basically she lived off of. She would go to there was a local gym, and she would wipe their windows in return for a shower and a cereal bar. And that's how she lived for 6 months. She drank the water from the shower and she ate the cereal bars. And that's how she survived. She then went on to build her company, which was a tech consultancy firm, and she sold it for $250 million.
Wow. That is an inspiration, yes. Oh.
Yeah. These are like, it's crazy that I'm getting these types of people on my show. But you know what? It goes to show, patients, that if you just take a little bit of action consistently, if you just put one foot in front of the other, before you know it, you look back and you wonder, oh my goodness, like how did that happen? And I think that's what's key for those listening to this to understand. We all see people like Gary Vaynerchuk and Richard Branson and Alan Sugar, and we kind of look up to them and we go, wow, like how did they do that? Like it's amazing, like how we become so overwhelmed by their success. But what we don't see is we don't see the beginnings, like how did they get there? Gary Vaynerchuk just started producing videos on YouTube, and at the beginning he sucked. Like he didn't know how to present. If you go to YouTube and type in Gary Vaynerchuk episode 0, right? He's a completely different person, right? I guarantee you that if you met Richard Branson when he was 23 years old, you know what? He was like a nobody. Like he just was starting out, right? So it's important to realize that in order to get major success, it all starts with that first step.
Okay. What is the most dangerous belief an online entrepreneur can have?
The most dangerous belief is that you can't achieve it. If you believe that you can't achieve something, then you won't. It's very simple. If you think it's impossible, then it usually will be impossible. But if you think anything is possible, then you'll be surprised at what you can achieve.
Why do you do what you do? I know you said you like to talk, you started it as a hobby, but why are you still doing it?
Because I love it. I do what I do. Patience, I do what I do because I love what I do. And it's that simple. And I would challenge anybody who's listening to this, if you don't love what you do, then just like stop doing it. Like why would you? We live a very short life. Life goes by really quickly. Like before you know it, you're going to be 80 years old, and you're going to be looking at your life, and you're going to be wondering why you made the choices you made, and it literally goes by in the blink of an eye. I have 4 children. My oldest is 9 years old. And when I look at pictures of him when he was, like a baby, I'm like, oh my goodness, time flies. Like it was just yesterday that he was like crawling and Googling and gaga, goo goo, gaga. And now he's like this grown man. He's like 9 years old. He's like, his own person. And it literally, time goes by so fast that it's just too short to waste your life doing things you don't love. And so I would say literally go out and do the things you love. And trust me, if the question you have in your head is, but I need to make money, I guarantee you that you can make money doing anything. right? You can make money doing anything. And if you love what you do, it's a lot easier to make money doing it, because the days that are tough, the days that you feel like you just, oh God, like it's so difficult, that love and that why you're doing what you're doing will get you through it.
Okay. Let's put man aside. How did you know you were successful?
I don't know that I'm successful. I just keep doing what I do because I love what I do. It's got nothing to do with being successful. And to be honest with you, success is very much a personal thing. So you might think I'm successful, but that doesn't matter. Like I do what I do not because I want you to think I'm successful. And I feel like that's a problem that a lot of people have, is that they worry about what other people think. Like, oh, what are they going to think of me? Like, are they going to think I'm successful? Like, it doesn't matter, because the truth is, and this is a harsh truth, nobody really cares about what you do. Like, nobody really cares about your success. I mean, maybe your mother or your spouse or your children, your grandparents, maybe they care, but most people, they don't really care about your success. They don't care about your failure. They don't care about you. What they do care about is they care about themselves, right? Think about how much time do you spend in your day thinking about yourself, right? Think about that for a second. You spend most of your time thinking about you, right? Well, what does that mean? It means that everybody else is doing the same thing. Everybody else thinks about themselves, so they don't have time to think about you.
Okay. Right. Can you give us your 3 top tips on how to spend $0 on marketing by networking like a beast?
Yeah. So your network is definitely your biggest asset that you have, because your business may succeed, and even if it does, it could end up going bust, right? Money comes and goes. But the cool thing about a network and relationships is that those will always be there. If Richard Branson lost all of his money, if all of his businesses went bust today, I guarantee you that within a very short period of time, he'll get right back up there. And the reason why that is because of his network. And so instead of spending like money on Facebook ads and marketing, I would say go out and really build your network, because your network is the most valuable thing you have. And the way to build your network is to try and see how you can help other people first before they help you. And if you can do that, then you'll build a very strong network of people who like you, know you, and trust you, and will buy from you.
Can anyone be an entrepreneur, or some of you are just naturally born talented?
No, the answer is no. I don't think everybody can be an entrepreneur. The reason I say that, it's like saying, can anybody be an NBA basketball player? I don't think so. I think that there are certain people who are more likely to be able to play professional basketball than others. There are certain people who are born with height. They're born with a skill and ability. Now, if you were to train every single day for hours and hours on end, would you be a great basketball player? Yeah, you'd be a very good. But NBA, I don't know. It's the same thing, like football, right? I don't know if your audience is from the UK or from the US, but in England we call it football. In the US they call it soccer, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, David Beckham has a skill that I believe he was born with. I think, yes, you have to train that skill and you have to work on that skill. But ultimately, think about, of all the people out there that try to make it into the FIFA, into the Champions League, into to play for the big league, how many of them actually make it? Very, very, like a tiny, tiny percentage. It's the same thing in the entrepreneurial space. Could you be a good businessman? Can you run a good business? Yeah. But to be a successful entrepreneur, I think that there are certain qualities that you need to be born with. And it's the truth. And I think that a lot of people who who say, I want to be an entrepreneur, what they're really saying is that they want to express themselves. And what that means is, let's say you're a guitar player and you're really good at playing guitar. So you don't want to work for somebody else. You want to like teach people how to play guitar. Well, that's great. You can go and do that. You can go and teach people how to play guitar. But it doesn't mean you're going to build a massive, guitar empire. You can make a good living, teaching people how to play guitar.
Wow. What reassurance or encouragement have you got for my members of clan who are not quite there yet?
Have patience. It takes time. When we were babies and we learned how to walk, it took time. We didn't walk in one day, right? It took months of falling on our faces and bruising ourselves and smashing things all over the place to finally actually take those first few steps. And it's the same thing in anything in life. Anything that's worth doing, it takes time, and you just have to try and just really put all your energy into it and stay laser focused, and hang around people who are going to support you and not bring you down.
Why storytelling is the most powerful tool you can have in business?
Storytelling. Well, the reason why I think storytelling is so powerful is, if you think about it, when we were very young, our mothers or our fathers or whoever looked after us and raised us would tell us bedtime stories. And those are the things that we remember from a very young age that left an impression on us. And it usually was a very powerful time in the day, right? Usually your parents were busy, but the one time in the day that you had that kind of undivided attention was at story time. And so there's something very powerful about that emotionally that we connect to. And so when someone says a story, you're really getting people's full engagement. And think about watching movies. Like when you watch a movie, essentially what you're doing is you're being told a story, right? And that's why you're so drawn in. So if you really want to learn to communicate better, whether it's in sales calls or whether it's in a job interview or whether it's networking or whatever it is that you're doing, presenting, stories are the golden key to leaving an impression on people, because people will remember stories. They'll forget the facts and the figures, but they'll remember a really good story.
Okay. What is the most valuable thing? Do you have mentors, by the way, in your life, in your business?
Yeah, I do. I surround myself with people who are more successful than me. And again, I use that word very carefully because success is very much a personal thing. But what I mean by that is I surround myself with people who are more experienced and have had more, more experience than me and are wiser than me and are knowledgeable in certain other areas that I'm not knowledgeable in. And so I call them my mentors because essentially I learn from them.
Okay. What is the most valuable thing your mentors has told you?
The most valuable thing one of my mentors told me was to shut up, stop feeling sorry for myself, and just get on with it.
Really rough.
It is rough, but that's what I needed, at that time. Sometimes patience, sometimes a really good friend is the friend that slaps you in the face when you need a slap in the face. Like, seriously. Yeah, sometimes when we're in a situation, the worst thing is sympathy, because sympathy just keeps you in that down. It gives you a good reason to sit and dwell in that low space. Whereas a good friend will come and bring you out, and the way that they can bring you out sometimes is telling you, hey, get the hell out of your funk. Like, get on with life. Just move on.
Okay. All right. What is the most valuable thing you have ever given away?
My time.
Wow. Okay. Let's talk about your business. Get Featured, your new business. Tell us more about it.
So getfeatured.com, essentially what we do is we help people to get on the top rated podcast shows. So the best way right now to share your story and to get your message out there and to get more followers and to build your brand and build your tribe is to get on podcast shows. Because like this, right, patients, the people listening to this, they know you, they trust you, they've been listening to your show, they love you. And so when they hear someone like me coming on, they don't know me, they've never heard of me. But now, because they know you and you've had me as a guest, so now they trust me. There's like an instant credibility there. So it's a very, very powerful way to instantly gain trust with people. And it's a great platform to share your story. Whereas, you can go on and do Facebook ads, Google ads, LinkedIn ads. You could do, YouTube ads. But the problem with ads is that it doesn't really connect you on a personal level, right? People don't want to see ads. They get in our way, right? You're watching a YouTube video. You don't want to have an ad pop up, right? You don't want to be interrupted. But when you listen to a podcast show, you are receptive. You are listening intently. And so I'm able to share my story with your listeners. And then hopefully if they like my story and they resonate with me as a person, they'll end up coming into my, to my space, into my sphere, and they'll follow me and we'll have a relationship, and eventually they may end up buying from me. And so what we do at Get Featured essentially is we get people featured on podcast shows. We help them to become a great guest, because being a good guest requires training. So we train them to be able to tell a good story, to be able to come up with a powerful message. And we also help them to convert the listeners into leads and eventually clients. So that's what we do at getfeatured.com. And for those of you listening that you want to get your story out there and you want to build your brand, let me know and we'll see if we're a good fit.
Who's the featured for? Is it for newbies online or established people and marketers online? Who are you catering for?
We're really catering for anybody who is willing to invest. We're not cheap. Okay, so our starting package starts at $5,500. That's a starting package. So we're not your sort of cheap service. We're very high end. We provide incredible quality. We work with our clients on a long-term basis, and so we're really looking for people who they have money to invest in themselves. They want to get out there and they want to build their brand and they want to start to really share their story and share their message with the world. And essentially, that's our ideal client.
The 5,000 package, is that a yearly or monthly for those listening?
So it's an upfront payment. It's a one-time payment, and that gets them on 10 shows, and it gets them the training, and it gets them the a bio sheet that we basically create for them. We also promote it to our 80,000 plus followers as well. So all the episodes that they go on will be promoted. That's the first package. Then we've got a second package, which obviously is more shows. So it's 16 shows, and that is it's $7,300. And then the last package is 24 shows for $8,400. And like I said, patients, it's not for everybody. We're really, really looking to work with people who are looking to invest in themselves and are ready to really share their story and their message with the world and to leave a legacy and to build a tribe.
Wow. That's good. So, Clan, there will be more from Daniel in a moment. If you are finding Daniel's journey interesting and you are ready to hear more, come and listen to the full version of the interview at onlinesuccessjourney.com. If you are on Online Success Journey already, click on part 2 on Daniel's journey and you'll get more tips to help you with your own show and what you need for the marketing. Also, don't forget you can access all other Online Success Journey interviews podcasts on the Online Success Journey. That's a wrap, Clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Daniel.
this is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path, so make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.